In this video, I'm breaking down the full 400-slide webinar run by Sam Ovens in his Info Prime in 2017, 2018. If you're watching this video, you probably know that he's focused on school now. He's sold Consulting.com, but this is the webinar that essentially built the Consulting.com business to what we know it was, to $25 million a year, something that was worth $75 million for Iman Gadzhi to buy. I'm going to be breaking down the entire process, so open, transformation, and close, and going into detail on each of the slides of the different psychological techniques that he used to make it in such a successful webinar. So this is one of the best webinars to break down in the info product space for one of the most impressive entrepreneurs in the info product space. So I'm looking forward to getting into it. It's obviously going to be a longer video. There's a lot of slides to go through here, but I think it's going to be a really, really good one. So let's start with the structure. He runs open, transformation, and close. Very, very standard structure here. He's going to open it with an introduction and his origin story. The transformation, he's going to sell people on the mechanism. He's going to help people overcome internal beliefs. He's going to help people overcome external beliefs before getting into the close, where he's going to introduce the offer, go through its different features and connect it back to what he was able to sell people on in the transformation before going into the stack and pitch and just a mountain of social proof following that. So let's get into the intro. Oh, that is too far into the intro. Right, so he starts it with how to start a wildly profitable consulting business and get your first high-value client in 42 days. So this is going to be a new idea at the time. I think he started running this webinar in 2016 and it looked a lot different in 2016. I also downloaded those slides and took a look at all of those. But it's still a new idea, running a consulting business at this time. So it's going to be something that's capturing this novelty, that's going to be naturally intriguing, and get your first high value client. It's a simple first goal in 42 days. It's a good time frame that's realistic, but also quick. So people think, okay, this is interesting, this is exciting. But it's not like get your first high value client in 5 days and people are just not going to believe it. So quick introduction, Sam Ovens and Sarah Brudnicki. Going into the goal is to provide you with everything you need so you can start your own consulting business and get high value clients immediately. So he's restating the quick value and what he wants to achieve on this webinar. So people are going to be like, okay, yeah, I'm ready, I'm leaning in. And then he goes into 4 common objections that people are going to have and handling them very quickly. Even if nobody knows who you are, no special skills, experience, without being pushy, slimy, and salesy. So he would have done his analysis of how his audience feel and realized that these are going to be the worries that people have when they're looking to sell something online. This training is the real deal. The strategies we're about to discover are the exact same strategies that I use to personally grow my consulting business. And I call this the waterproof Rolex cell. So Rolexes are going to be waterproof to 100 feet, I believe it is. And that's going to be something that not any Rolex owner is going to need. Like going 33 meters or 100 feet underwater, people aren't going to need that. But they think, well, if it's waterproof till that much, I can just sit on the side of the pool and if it falls in, it's still going to be okay. So it's like, say something's able to achieve something, so then the person's realistic goal is just kind of a drop in the ocean in that regard. So I call this a waterproof Rolex cell. A lot of people's goals here are not going to be 20 million in 4 years, but the fact he's been able to achieve it, it's the waterproof Rolex, it's the Rolex that's water resistant until 100 feet. So they're like, okay, yeah, it's fine, that's good. Then he talks about the material goal. So I was able to move to New York with these methods, completely changed my life. And then the large business goal. So what he's doing here is he's talking about these different types of goals that he had, or different types of goals people might have. So they might be thinking, I want to build a large business. They might be thinking, I want to move to a different location, or I want to live somewhere prestigious or impressive. So he's going into different goals here. Then some people are going to be more important, their family is going to be more important to them. So, and more than that, these methods can change my family's life. So then he's talking about his family, obviously really cool private jet picture, Not a lot of people get to take that photo. He's able to retire his parents. So he's talking about these goals now. So whatever the goal that people are going to have, he's kind of just bringing them all in and being like, well, it's helped me achieve this and this and this. And it's going to have different people leaning in at different times of this whole introduction. These methods have changed thousands of people's lives all over the world. So that's going to be social proof, but then also the impact goal. So if people want to have more impact, they're going to be like, oh, okay, now this one's for me. That's going to be interesting for them. Quick bomb of social proof. This person was able to quit their job and say, I signed up to your webinar. And we'll see something really, really great throughout this webinar is how his social proof is so relevant at every single time. So at this point, people are asking themselves the question, like, should I be on this webinar, or should I go and cook my dinner, or should I go and, I don't know, watch TV, whatever it may be. But at every point, he's referencing social proof, and he's got mountains and mountains of social proof, so he's able to be picky with this. But like here, so people are asking the question, should I be on this webinar? And this person says, I signed up to your webinar to learn some new skills. I jumped on board to pursue consulting. What I got was a new life. So it's like, okay, what I'm doing now is getting me the outcome. So that is something that you'll notice throughout this presentation, that he's able to tie the most specific, relevant social proof. And that's something that's really impressive about what he does. Here's what we're going to cover. So quick intro in terms of the contents. So best place to start, why he's saying this is he's going to get some relief of the audience. With the choice overload, there's going to be so many different businesses people could start or consider. He's saying it's the best place to start. It's going to be a relief of that choice overload, and it's going to appeal to the beginner avatar as well, people who are just starting out. The only three simple things you need to start your consulting business and go to six figures quickly. So a goal, and also making it simple. Then he also taps into the curiosity. So how to rewire your brain and become a completely different person. This point, I also wanted to add, some people might be thinking, I might not want to do that. Like, why would I even want to be a completely different person? And that's something he's going to sell people on really, really well later in the webinar. But the fact that he's addressing this now, it's something that people might not be sold on early on, or might be thinking, well, why would I want to do that? So I think it is a risk here. The way I'd actually reframe this line right here, so it's this one, how to rewire your brain. It would be something like the psychological triggers that make success easy, or something like that ties it to the actual goal that someone would have, but still lean into that curiosity about rewiring your brain. How to pick your niche and create an offer that provides real value to people. So again, people are not necessarily sold on, like, I need to pick my niche. So I would change this to something like how to find a market of really hungry buyers for skills that you already have, or something like that, to make it so that it's not like, okay, you need to pick your niche, and they're like, oh, why would I need to do that? But then the rest we've got really strong. Create an offer that provides real value to people, handles a concern. People might be like, oh, I don't know if I can provide value. How to get your first few high-value clients quickly. Speed is going to sell. How to price your service, another common concern, and math to making 100K. So it simplifies it rather than hypes it up. And that's something I'd like to touch a bit more detail, because he does this, and it comes off in his kind of demeanor, and he's not like a really overhyped, or he's not doing any hype really at all, to be honest, in the way he delivers this webinar. And I think that's cool, because there are so many different people in the info product space and selling things online, and something that you'll see throughout is he's very matter of fact about success and what people can achieve and things like that. And it helps him kind of come across as someone who's very grounded, but then also by not overhyping the success and not saying you're going to make 100K and it's going to be amazing and going to absolutely change your life. The math to making 100K as a consultant is something that's just like, well, it seems inevitable at this point. If we're just going through kind of the logistics of making it happen, then it's just simplifying it and making it seem a lot more believable. And if you stick with me to the end of the webinar, then we've just got something sticky. Now let's talk about who this webinar is for. So the thing here, and if you're thinking of running a webinar or looking to run it for yourself or a client, if you're working with someone, and you could be working with pretty much anyone, don't feel like you can't state who you work with, because it's going to be like, okay, well, I can work with anyone, and then just move on to the next slide. You can call out these people, and you'll see that he basically works with everyone: caged employees, kind of parents, struggling consultants, and aware students. So this webinar is pretty much for everyone, but the fact that these people have been called out, they're going to be like, okay, this is me, this is for me. So really good point here, and he's going into the pain. Oh, sorry, not kind of parents, kind of preneurs. But he's going into the pain of each of these people. He understands his market well, and he's able to segment those into, I guess, the people that are most likely to buy from him as well. Before we get started, here are some house rules. So let's get into the next bit. Not get rich quick, etc., etc. So let's get into, like, this is where he's starting to pitch consulting as an idea. We're experiencing one of the most profound shifts in the history of the world. That's going to get people's curiosity going. The job market is changing, so he's making it actually feel a lot less risky here, which is a difficult thing to do sometimes if you're working with people or looking to work with people who are just getting into business, kind of selling business opportunity. You're actually making the idea of business feel less risky. Backing it up with stats, the 9-to-5 apocalypse, he's calling it, it's adding fear to the alternative, and consulting jobs are becoming more popular and easier to get. So therefore, it's just sounding logical at this point. Then he's talking about the internet and how it's making this more possible. So cell phone and laptop, making it sound easy. Facebook ads for pennies, making it achievable. So he's kind of just moving away all of these common objections that people are going to have. Oh, is it complicated? Do I need a special camera or whatever it may be? No, you can do it with a cell phone and a laptop. Oh, is it going to be expensive to get started and get people to know who I am? No, Facebook ads for pennies. Oh, do I need qualifications? No fancy qualifications. And there's you don't need to be running it from an office or anything like that to get started. He's handling all of the misconceptions here. He's also going to add some urgency on his next slide. Right now is the perfect time to start your own consulting business. He's adding some urgency to this. Now, some of you are probably thinking, who the hell is Sam Ovens? And that's a really good question. So let's get into the origin story. And this is a huge part of any webinar. And usually it's going to be about a 15 to 20 minute block. And it is going to be a part of the webinar that can convert quite a lot of people in the origin story alone. And essentially what your goals are with the origin story is to be relatable, tell a really, use good storytelling to get people to kind of go through this journey with you. And you want to get people to see that it's possible for them to achieve this as well. And honesty is going to be something that sells or helps people to trust you and then eventually buy, so therefore sells well. And being specific as well when it comes to storytelling and going into things like the pain you were feeling and making your pain relatable as well. So throughout this, he's got some great images that he's been able to put into this webinar from the past. So he says, I was pretty much below average, and I'm not going to do the accent. The first corporate job at this company called Vodafone in New Zealand while still finishing my degree. People always told me that this is what success was. Go to school and get a job. But I was sitting at this job thinking, is this really it? This is not for me. I'm going to search for something better. So here, image makes it super real, and we've got relatable thoughts. People are going to be thinking, a lot of people, they're going to be in their job, and they're going to be thinking, well, this is what I thought I was supposed to do. But is this really it? I'd love to hear, though, what was the deeper why? So, he felt like, is this really it? Something that is is good to think about when you're actually framing this origin story, and something that Russell Brunson teaches actually when he breaks down the origin story, is that you want to talk about the external desires. So those are probably going to be the first things that come to mind when he's thinking this. Like, I don't have that much money. I probably want more money. How do I get more money? This doesn't feel like the right ladder I want to be on. But then what are the internal desires behind that? And that can get someone to really connect with you really, really well. So that's why I say he could actually add here, what was the deeper why with this, because that can help people to connect that much better. And then I decided to quit my job. Dropped out of college and have to go back home to live with my parents' garage to save money. So then he had a photo of the garage he was living in. I'd sleep on that couch and wake up and work from that desk supported by concrete blocks. So making it really, really real. And then a really good storytelling principle, if you learn anything about storytelling, is appealing to senses. And he says, in the summer, it got so hot in here, I had to open this door a little bit to let air in. So he can imagine you're appealing to the kind of the touch sense here of heat. But then also, when I was watching this, I was actually thinking, oh wow, that garage door must be so loud when he's opening it. And it's also something that is not super typical for someone to put in a webinar presentation, but it was something that was top of mind for him. So it must have been something he remembered a lot when he was in this garage. Great images here of his situation. I have absolutely no idea what I was doing. I planned all these ideas out on the whiteboard and got my mum to take photos of me. Then he went into his failing businesses. So he's got honesty building trust here. He's relating to a common misconception that to build a business, it has to be something new. It has to be something maybe internet-based. So the couple of failed businesses that he had, his office lunch delivery business as well, and he's kind of compiled them all together to say where he was at in his first year in business. He spent the whole year working 12 hours a day, and these were dark times. I fell into deep depression and could hardly get out of bed each day. Then one day it hit me. Nobody needed what I was selling. So this is where he introduces the big idea of this webinar. You can make money by running a consulting company by essentially asking what people need and then selling it to them. So this is the discovery journey that he's taking us on right here. So he says, I was trying to sell things that I thought people needed, but they all said the same thing. Hey, this is cool, but I just don't need this. Out of my darkest hours came my biggest breakthrough. So this is the discovery journey. I really think there are a couple of things here that if I was running this again, I would be talking about, was there a call that he experienced where he said enough is enough? So like he just kept calling people, asking if they needed it. Was there a moment where he was like, wow, I just can't keep doing this? That's going to be something that's powerful to his discovery journey. And where were you? What he was doing? What was he doing that caused his realization as well? Those are a couple of things that he could really add to this discovery journey. Then he states the big idea. So instead of trying to sell things I thought people would need, why not ask people what they need and sell that to them? So then we're kind of on this, we went from like not a good situation, kind of feeling low emotionally, and now we're on this journey, we're coming back up emotionally. So he's picking up energy the way he delivers this. What if I went to the market first? What if I went to talk to the people, found out what they wanted, then built that, then went back to give it to them? And then I just started calling business in my area to say, hey, I want to learn what the most painful problem is that you face on a day-to-day basis. I discovered the business were really struggling to get customers online. Realized if I figured that out, I'd have a business. And then he went into how he was able to get his first client, which I think is a really exciting story. It's really someone's first client is always a pretty fun thing to hear about. But he says he was speaking to someone and he says, hey, I think I can help you with this. And then they were just like, how much do you charge? And he said, the first number that came to his mind was $1,000. And then the person said, let's do it. So just like that, I got a new client. He couldn't believe it. And this made me realize, again, the big idea, you don't need to think of something and then sell it. You need to let the people tell you what they need help with, and then you sell it to them. So then he's going to start tying this all to results. And then this is where he's talking about the kind of the birth of consulting.com. So he got interviewed for this podcast, I guess, on Mixergy, and he talked about how he's getting clients and doing all of this, and he started getting people reaching out to him now. Lots and lots of emails, and he was just ignoring them because he didn't feel like he could help them. And this is something that is a really good statement here, because he's actually connecting on an honest level, and is going to be reassuring the audience of the fact that he cares about the results of the people that he teaches. He's saying this one guy, Stanley, was so persistent to the point he offered to pay me $1,000 to teach him. And that's when he said yes. We started working together on the Skype call every week, just me, Stanley, in a Dropbox folder. And to my surprise, Stanley had landed a client in his first 3 weeks for $10,000. The student had beaten the teacher within 3 weeks. And here he's just subtly dropping how good his consulting is, even in the early stages, when he wasn't feeling confident with his consulting, and he didn't really have anything to it, just the calls and a Dropbox folder. So then he's getting more people that are reaching out to him from this interview, and then he opened up the folder to more people, and a community started growing. He was able to sell 13 to 15 of these kind of community sales and people watching these videos, and it was evidence that people wanted it. And this is where he started to have that realization of people essentially, again, telling you what they need and then you selling it to them, and he realized that this really works, and that's when he knew he had something special. So then he started to put together consulting.com in the way that people know it here in 2018 or 2017, and how they're selling the entry to the course, but then it came with a box as well with your resources. And he's just got all these great photos really of packaging these boxes, sending them out, and then he's going to go into some more kind of goal-based proof, I suppose, and what he was able to do with this. So I was able to make some dramatic changes to my lifestyle. I moved out of my parents' garage, I built my own place, I was able to design it exactly how I wanted it, got it featured on the front of this magazine, went around the world, game fishing, I went to see some different NBA games. So we've got all of these impressive images to build the desire of what is possible. I don't think I need to go into too much detail about selling like with images like this. I think that's been talked about a lot in the info product space. I really started to enjoy a lot of freedom. I had a burning desire of doing the things I dreamed of doing when I was a kid. And he was able to get that out of his system, he said. And then once it was out of his system, he got back to focusing on the program and making it better and better and better. So then he's going to go into his kind of finances of the journey, decided to go all in. So he sold everything he had in New Zealand and moved to New York. And this is my apartment. So again, more impressive images. This is, like, it's a really cool apartment. This is my desk right here. So kind of making it real. This is where I'm delivering this webinar right now from. I started working harder than ever before. I kept improving my consulting skills and going into what he was able to achieve by 27, 18 million. And then he's going to keep building it up and up. So he didn't stop there. People getting invited to the apartment from the program that he was selling. If this thing helped this many people so far, I knew it could help more. And these images, they're going to be building up that FOMO. They're like, oh, I'd like to be invited out there. I'd like to be one of these students. Started meeting my clients to discuss strategies and what was working, talking about how we can improve the business. Lots and lots of meeting in real life. And yeah, building up that FOMO. I started getting clients all over the world, so showing how much of a global impact he was having. Community started growing like crazy, 10,000 people helped, and I quickly realized I had started something that was much bigger than me. And the humility of this point is going to build trust here again. So he's naturally a humble guy, and he comes across with a lot of humility, but he's also been able to achieve some great things. And I'm not saying that this is forced, because it doesn't sound it. Some people don't have this kind of natural, humble demeanor. So if they were to say something like this and really try and connect on a humility level, it's not going to work. But it will for him. This is no longer about Sam Ovens. This is a worldwide movement. I decided to purchase the domain name, and there was an open rebel by the people tired of working for other people. And this is super powerful because at this point in the webinar, you're getting people to pick a side. Are you the person that is ready to be working for other people? Are you the person that is just going to kind of go along with life in this way? Or are you going to be on this side? Are you going to join the open rebel? And that kind of idea of a rebellion is going to get people fired up. It's going to get them excited. So a really, really powerful slide in what he says here. Then he's talking about the office that he was able to get in Madison Avenue, New York, hired more than 30 people, going into more of those images. The world started to take notice. So then we've got a bomb of social proof, the different like articles that he was posted in, go through all of these on the news as well. 30 under 30, got his net worth listed at, I think, 60 million or something like that. 65 million. And then, okay, so we've built us up to the point where he's able to achieve massive, massive success. And now we're just going to bring us back to reality, and we're going to inspire the audience that it could be them too. I'll show this to you to show you what's possible. Imagine yourself 4 years from now, and this is what he says here. So picture where you are right now, your current situation, and then what he wants you to do is imagine where you could be in 4 years. Imagine if you had the same progress over 4 years that I had. Imagine where you could be. Here, I was just saying that he could ask some questions. Just simple questions like, where are you living? What do you eat? Are you happy with what you eat? Where do you spend your time? Who do you spend your time around? Are you happy with these things? So just different prompts can make this a bit more powerful. But again, super strong slide all the same. And what I wanted you to do right now is make a decision that you're going to change things. So you're getting people to commit early on in the webinar that they believe in this way and they're going to make a change in their life. This is really important because when I think back, where everything's changed for me was where I was sitting in my cubicle in my corporate job and decided I wanted to make a change. It was that one decision that started everything. So here he's also simplifying the first step. And we're going to bring this origin story into land here with some results. Former NFL athlete makes 150K consulting. Business was unstable. So we're just going into, what I'm interested in here is the people that have, where he was kind of calling out their original state. So he was saying that this former NFL athlete was doing 5K a month in business. These people were maxed out doing done for you consulting for no predictable way to get clients. Business was stuck at zero, making less than 4K a month, struggling spread over multiple niches. So he's done a little range of the types of businesses that people are running or the situations that they're in. And what people really want to see here is, oh, that person looks like me. They're in my situation. So therefore, this is going to work for me here. I think he could have just mentioned a couple of, so he talks about, it's the people that were sold entrepreneurship, it's the students, the aware students or whatever he said, but then also people with a job. And it seems like all of these people were actually kind of somewhat in entrepreneurship already. So the only thing here is, he will have a huge amount of social proof from other students. So I think when he said earlier in the webinar, this is who it's for, I think here I would have just made an adjustment to make it more about some of those people. So this person was a student, this person was working a job, they're able to quit their job. That's what I put there. It started to take on a life of its own, an entire community developed, building up the social proof, building up the FOMO here, showing how people are posting, and just to show you what he was saying here, people are partnering up, so you're missing out. They're posting on Facebook every time they get clients, so you're missing out. Then he bought a full-blown robot to ring the bell every time that someone got a client where they click ring the bell. So he's really building something, building a lot of FOMO. So why consulting? So let's talk about this. So at this point in the webinar, the audience will be inspired and excited to take the next step. But there will be going to be some things that are holding them back. So as I said earlier, that this origin story is going to be something that can sell people in of itself. But there will be some people that aren't sold yet. And I really like the way that Russell Brunson frames this as the big domino. So the big domino is essentially the big idea that he's selling. We've talked about the big idea that he's selling. Is that like consulting is the way to go, and essentially what we're doing is selling people what they need. When the big domino falls, the idea is believed, right? So that's what he's saying. He's saying that the webinar is about pushing this big domino, the big idea, and when it falls, he's connecting that analogy to when it's the believed, what he's trying to teach. When the idea is believed, people buy. So we've got the big domino here, it's falling. When it falls, people are there ready to buy, okay? But there are still some things that will be holding up the webinar. Holding up the domino. So the domino here is the idea that consulting is wealth. But they're thinking, really, is consulting really going to be the path? Is it me? Can I actually do it? Who do I do consulting for? What do I charge? How do I get clients? So these are things that are going to be stopping some people from the domino falling in their brain. So the rest of the education part, and you're always going to frame a webinar essentially like a free education or free masterclass, or this is what you're going to learn, and this is going to be the kind of the meat of it. So the education part of the webinar, and this is what people essentially have come here for. But you, as the presenter, are going to be using the education part of the webinar to dispel whatever is propping this domino up and stopping it from falling. So let's get into that in the transformation phase. So firstly, we're going to sell the mechanism. So this is the really. Really? Is consulting really going to be getting me to my result? And he goes into something, and this is something that he actually kept exactly the same place from his 2016 webinar as well. One day, John Lennon's wife was looking at their yard and said she wanted a pool. John replied, okay, let's get one. When John's wife responded, saying, how are we going to do that? John said, I'll write us one. This is something that's going to be really inspiring to hear from the audience, for the audience to hear, and that's because you're going to get some ambitious people here who would love to do something like that, and they love hearing stories like that. I liked hearing that story. Having a viable consulting offer is one of the most valuable assets you can have, because it means you'll never go hungry. Just like John Lennon had writing songs, you can have consulting as your way to get anything in your life. And I think this is funny because he makes this parallel, but yeah, I think it works. Like, I can do things that John Lennon could without being as talented. Great, sign me up. And I think this is one of the best slides in the webinar. While others obtain things through a lifetime of savings and frugality, you can obtain things by getting a few consulting clients. So again, we're committing to the identity and the idea that you've already decided. We've already put the people that don't believe in consulting in a different area. Others are obtaining things through pain, lifetime of savings and frugality, boring pain as well. You, because you're on our side, can obtain things by getting a few consulting clients. And just a few makes it sound so simple. And you can finally stop worrying about where your next check is going to come from. And let's talk about the benefits of consulting. So why consulting? Well, we're going to be talking about ease, cell phone and laptop. You don't need to spend 5 years building it. Handling big objections, skills that you already have and can learn quickly. Attractive upside, total freedom, and something to be truly proud of as well. That's going to be a concern by some people if they don't want to start some scammy business. And that might be kind of, I don't know, they might have been sold into an MLM scheme or something like that. But what if I'm not cut out for consulting? Most people think I'm not a consultant or I'm not cut out for consulting. So we are leaning into the internal beliefs here. The truth is, most people have some huge misconceptions about what consulting is, about consulting, and I want to clear those up right now. So going into the misconceptions, making them all false, saying that they're all false. So if that's not consultant, then what is? And just for context here, before we skip on, so it's like saying people think you need a degree, you need to be all corporate-y, you need to be in the US, you're charging for time and money and charging time for money and traveling all the time. You can only be a consultant in these things like supply chain management, HR, IT, and other really formal business things. But then he just goes into the definition of consulting, and anyone could be a consultant on anything. You just need 3 things. So we're going into the 3 kind of beliefs we're about to break down as well in the next part of the webinar. Most people try and do everything. It's what most people do. All of these different things. Start Snapchat, try and get in these, writing a book, posting to LinkedIn, getting on Oprah. We're overwhelming the old way, and this is a really common sales process and sales technique. Like, it's the old way versus the new way, and we're talking about the old way and talking about the overwhelm of the old way and the way that we don't want to go. This can be further from the truth. You're a rat running in a wheel with some Starbucks coffee trying to do all of this. It's not going to get you anywhere. The truth is, it's about doing less, not more. So you're helping people feel like at ease. You're tapping into that relief. It's about focusing on one thing, not 20. So when it comes to starting a successful consulting business, you want to focus on 1 to 3 things, and that's it. Here are the 3 things. You need to rewire your brain and become a new person. You need a niche and an offer that provides value to more people. You need a proven, repeatable process to attract and convert clients. It's made simple and it's made understandable here. So we've got rid of the really problem that's stepping in the way, and now we're going into the internal beliefs. So usually at this point, the presenter would handle the misconceptions about someone's beliefs related to being able to execute the program. So I don't know, if we're teaching people how to start a pressure washing business, we might be thinking about, okay, so what come someone's misconceptions about starting it? Okay, I'm scared of going and knocking on doors, and that might be a big internal belief that we're going to help people overcome in that webinar. The way that Sam Muffins does it is a lot different. The interesting approach is he basically says, it's not you that's going to achieve what we need to achieve. He then uses this part to get people to buy into the fact that we need to fix who you are, and then we can focus on getting results. So a lot of people in their webinar, they'll say, okay, it's you. How are you going to reframe your beliefs? But we're basically saying in this webinar, like, it's not you that's going to achieve this. And this is a fundamental of the training and the consulting that he eventually ends up putting together, or has put together at this point in his life. And probably one of the things that he's most famous for as well, the kind of mindset and self-belief and I guess the transcend myself, these kinds of ideas. So first idea, you need to rewire your brain and become a different person. But Sam, what does that have to do with business? Have you ever wondered how I went from broke in a garage in New Zealand, too shy to leave the house, and seemingly out of nowhere, to owning this business? So he's recognizing that what he achieved isn't normal at this point. Or have you also ever wondered how seemingly out of nowhere again, how I've helped record numbers? How? Then he's making himself relatable here. My logo was made in Keynote. My website had spelling mistakes and broken opt-in form for 3 years running. No business cards, no phone number. How did I do it? I transcended myself. And people are going to be like, oh, right, this is what I'm missing. It's also helping people to see, okay, it's like, it is saying that I'm the problem, but it's also saying, like, I'm the problem, but it's just the fact that I didn't realize I needed to change who I was. This is the problem. This is what's been getting in my way. And this is what we're going to get into here. So what does that mean? Well, I realized that my biggest blocker to my success was myself. I would have loved for him to go into more detail here in this whole part of this internal belief kind of transformation process. I would have loved to have heard exactly how he was able to go through this realization, what he was doing. He doesn't go into that much detail here, which is my one criticism of this part of the webinar, but it's strong all the same. So I was my own worst enemy. I doubted that I could do anything in life. And then this is where we do make things a bit relatable, where he's saying, like, the different feelings he had. So afraid to face the day, too afraid to speak, couldn't face talking, constantly trying to escape. I would always spend surplus funds and regret it. Honestly building trust and relatability, building belief. I tried to fix the problem using logical and tactical things, but it didn't work. Again, this is something where I feel like he could have gone into a bit more really. So he's saying he's read books, learned tons of new information, but he kind of gone into this a bit more with like how this actually happened, like what were the logical solutions or the problems that he felt like he was facing, because that's just something that we don't really understand here. But it didn't matter how much effort I put in, I was still spinning my tires with nothing to show for it. And again, I'd love to hear like what this actually looked like. It was something that was holding me back. Understanding the symptoms of this will make me stronger. So a lot of people might not relate to this feeling, but they could relate to if he was to say, well, I would sit down to work on my business and I would just get distracted within 30 minutes of trying to do my main task. And I felt like it was doing cold calls. I knew I needed to do cold calls, but it was the hardest thing that I could do. And I learned one day about someone who was able to transform and start to enjoy the work of doing cold calls. I think if he was able to make it more specific to the problem that he was facing, this would make it stronger by going into the actual symptoms of this thing that was holding them back. It was like there was a dark force, this thing haunted me, whatever I wanted to do in life, it was right there breathing down my neck. So it's all very kind of up in the air, like metaphorical. It had me in its grips. I'd love to just have a bit more relatability, as I keep saying. For years I wondered what this cruel thing that was haunting my existence, only to figure out that it was me. I had met the enemy, and the enemy was myself. Wondering why I'm saying all of this? This webinar is about starting your own consulting business, getting clients and making money, but after witnessing 10,000 plus students try to become consultants, make money and be successful, I've noticed that there is one thing in common with all of the successes. This is a great slide. When they achieve success, they are not the same person they were before. This makes it believable, and it's going to help get people on board. Okay, I need to become a different person. All of the people that are successful, they are not the same person. And it was the same case with me too. And I think this is where he gets into a really good part that helps him explain this in a bit more detail as well. Who I am today is not who I was back then. And who you are right now is not who you will be when you achieve the things that you want. What do you need to change? The identity crisis. What is an identity crisis? So he's talking about who he was back then. And this is, I think, really, really strong. It helps to understand the clear difference. This is the me that was required to achieve my dreams. But some people might relate to this, and they might be like, well, I know I also need to achieve this. I need to be this person. So this is selling people really well on the idea that they need to become a different person. I call this the gap between who you are right now and who you need to become. But that can't be done. Not true. I transcended myself multiple times over. So he's handling the false belief here. I was blind, but now I see. And not just myself. I help record numbers of people. Back to the social proof. And he's calling this hacking your brain. So this is a nice idea, is adding to this curiosity. Most people have no idea how their brain works. And then he's going to talk about perception, and with some really, really strong examples here, like the color of the squares being the same, but it just depends on what's around it. He goes into an audio example here, which I didn't really understand too much, to be honest. And then he's going into like very, very basic explanation that's very easy to understand. And help people get on board. What you're experiencing every day isn't reality. It's reality exposed to your method of questioning. So your perception of yourself and what you're capable of isn't true. It's just a perception. So when it comes to achieving goals and dreams, the biggest thing standing in your way is the perception of yourself. And this is the big idea of this section. It's abstract, but the journey to belief delivery was handled well. As I keep saying, he could go on to a bit more detail in terms of like the specific realizations that he had, the problems that he was facing. This is where we're tapping into a really strong sales technique. The idea is like, it's not my fault. So most people try to attack each day as themselves and get torn apart trying to achieve their dreams because it requires you to be someone you're not. So it's going to be like helping people, like if they've got like an inflated sense of self, then it's going to help that kind of. And I guess everyone has an inflated sense of self, but we're going into that there with the idea it's not my fault. The big thing standing in your way, kind of reaffirming that you are the person that's in your way of your dream life. And then here's the hack. Instead of struggling to achieve your goals as yourself, become a new character. It sounds a lot less like difficult work here. Rather than going through struggle, just become a new person who's going to be able to do this. So how do you actually become a new character? And then he's going to talk about his Alchemy of Self workbook and how he's able to do that for himself. And he's going to say, okay, you're going to get this at the end as well. Keep making the webinar sticky. By designing your new character, you can change your life. And then he's going to go into some really well-positioned social proof. As I said at the start of this video, he does this really well. The mindset game is ultra powerful. I don't recognize myself anymore. And he's talking about all these people that have achieved things, but in relation to what he's just sold us on, the idea that you need to become a new person. The value bomb with education and perspective shifts, it makes the audience look forward to the next part. The next idea, you need a niche. So let's get into this. So, external belief 1, who do I sell to? So we've got rid of 2 at this point. Is consulting really the method I need to go down? And also, can I do it? Now we're going into who do we actually sell this to? So let's get into this here. You need a niche and offer that provides value to people. One of the biggest lessons I've learned in business is how to create value. Because you will understand how to create value, you'll never have to have anything to sell people. To be a successful consultant, you need to be able to create value. How do you create value? So here, we're just saying like, someone's going to be in a current situation, then they're going to try and reach their desired situation, and you're talking about selling the gap. Again, we're talking about another gap. So he's just talking about all about why we need to create value, selling people on the idea of creating value, and what's standing in their way. Inability to get there on their own, they want to get there faster, they want to use a proven system and have guidance. And these are going to be the 3 reasons that people would essentially buy and look to traverse this gap. They just don't know how to do it, they want to be faster, or they want a proven system and have guidance to do it. Then your offer fills the gap. To create value, to help someone bridge the gap. To create value, you need to help someone bridge the gap from their current to desired situation. And the best way to do this is focusing on a specific market. So you can see here that he's just really basically outlined exactly what someone needs to do to get a client. They need to bridge the gap. There are going to be 3 reasons why they would want to buy from someone, and they're going to bridge the gap, and now we're selling someone on the idea of the niche. The best way to do this is by focusing on one specific segment, and we call this a niche. So that's a really good way to sell someone on picking a niche. Why you should pick a niche, and then we're going to say, okay, you need to focus by picking a niche. The man who chases 2 rabbits catches none. Specialists earn more money. General practitioner versus the brain surgeon. So all the ideas about why going into a niche is better than being a generalist. The big money in consulting is when you become the king or queen of your mountain, and you need to find your mountain, climb to the top of it, and then defend it. When you become the king or queen of the mountain, and it's going into all of the benefits of like owning your niche. So how do we define it? Industries that you know, markets needs and desires, and the skills that you can learn, or you have. I'm struggling to read right now. The skills that you have or can learn, and how to get these all together. And your niche is ideally in the middle of these 3 things. Most people believe that your important things are the skills that you have, but this part is the most important, the market's needs and desires. So he's dispelling common beliefs. What I'd love for him to go into here is if he was able to explain more about his journey of understanding the importance of a niche. So he's able to teach it and explain it very, very well as to why it's important for someone to pick a niche and decide to become the king or queen of that specific mountain. But what I would have loved for him to explain a bit more is how did he actually do this for himself, and what made him make this realization? Because if he was able to say something like, well, and I said that, okay, yeah, I was working with that $1,000 client when I first got started, and then I can't exactly remember what kind of business it was, but let's say it was a plumber. It might have been a plumber. And then I realized, but then I started calling electricians, and then I started calling, and then they were like, okay, who else do you do this for? And then they were just like, okay, yeah, maybe I'll get back to you later. And it was just time and time again. I felt like I didn't really have relevant case studies. And it was then when I spoke to a plumber and said, I've done this for another plumber. And then he was like, oh, wow, let me go. And then I was able to start charging more. So if he was able to go into a story like that, that would help this land a whole lot better. I think he explains it incredibly well, like with breaking things down. And obviously there are core benefits of here, what he talks about, why you should pick a niche. But really in this section, if he was able to back this up with a story, that would be really, really, really good. And then, yeah, so let's just get back to where we were. So where do you get this information from? Start by reading the top 10 blogs. So we're talking about the pain points here. And then most important variable. This is the most important section. This brings us to step 3. A skill set you have or can easily learn. You want to take inventory of your current skill set, but don't stress out if you don't currently have it. So he's just trying to make it easy for people, not worry about the objections of like, I don't have the skills necessary. But another big problem I see is communicating what they do and who they help. So then he's going to go into his popular formula, I help niche to get a result by offer, which is, I don't even know if he created this formula, but it's something that you see everywhere online today. Oh, I was not meant to come up. I don't even know how I did that. Now let's bring this all together. You know how to create value by understanding a market's current situation and desired situation. You know that a consultant is someone that helps bridge the gap. You know the importance of picking a niche. You know how to pick your own niche and now how to define what you do and who you help using this simple formula. And in his 2016 webinar, I would actually say that this was one of the weakest parts because he didn't explain it as well. And I think this is something that he's really improved a lot in this 2017-2018 webinar where he recreated everything. Then he's going into first client in my new niche, recording studios, the importance of niche taking action. Since then I've made another 20k. So again, really, really, really relevant case studies. He's able to do that really well. So now we get into external belief 2. How do I get clients? You need a proven and repeatable process to attract and convert clients. So he's talking about the process to get someone from Facebook ads, and then he goes into also just at the end, I believe, external belief 3, what do I charge? So let's talk about pricing your services. So let's just dive into this quickly. So you need a proven and repeatable process to attract and convert clients. What I'm about to share with you is the exact same strategy myself and clients use to generate 5, 10, 20 clients per month with predictability. So again, we're going into this waterproof Rolex style here. A lot of people won't want 20 clients a month. They might be happy with 1 client a month. But the fact that it's able to do this means that, okay, if I just want 1 client, I can probably just achieve that very easily. What's the problem? I call it hope marketing, and it goes like this. Most people have no proven rinse and repeat way. They arrive at the office by 9 a.m, go down on one knee and pray to God. They attempt random acts of marketing. They experience feast or famine every day. So this is going to appeal to the business owners already who are going through these pains, and this is very relatable pain for a lot of business owners. They operate their business using a strategy less successful than a drunken bet in Las Vegas. And that is a real twist of the knife if he's already stabbing them, because they're thinking, oh wow, like that's not that's not where I want to be. I don't want to be in Vegas and being compared to that. They gamble their future and their family's future with spine-chilling chance. So this is going into a lot of pain here. If you want to run a successful consulting business, you must have a proven rinse and repeat process for attracting and converting clients. So this point here, this is a no-brainer. But the fact he's been able to frame it with so much pain makes this just land a whole lot better. So this here, obviously we need to rinse and repeat process for attracting and converting clients to get what we want. But the fact he's been able to set it up with the fact that he's you're gambling your family's future, and like images like this where people put themselves in a casino, that just makes it a whole lot better. And like when people have emotion, they're going to learn things a whole lot better. How do we do that? Well, he's talking about the conversion process, and then he's going to go into Facebook ads, saying how it's possible, and then like this is how he was running it. Plumbing business, click here to learn the proven ways to attract more clients to your plumbing business. So this is the Facebook ads prime right here, where you're able to get results like this. And he's talking about like the exact process here, and I think he does this really well. I think he's selling what to do, but he's not going into lots of detail about how to do it, because that's what the product's for. And this is something that is very, very popularized in kind of online sales and sales in general, to be honest. It's the idea of telling people everything that they need to do and then selling the how to do it. But people still feel like they're getting value from this because they're like, oh, I can see diagrams, I can see exactly how this works, I can understand it, I can understand the maths behind it, I can see what I need to build. But then they'll be like, well, I don't have the first idea of how to build a landing page, and that's what's going to get people to buy. So he's saying, like, it's simple, right? Like, you just need to run Facebook ads to a landing page, value video. But then what do you say? Like, how do we script the video? All of this. So this is super strong as a mechanism in of itself, because he's got a really, really great balance between value, but then also causing a little bit of overwhelm and a little bit of fear when it comes to people trying to do this. And then how well does this work? He's showing his calendar. Not a single day goes by where I don't have 10 to 20 new appointments in my calendar. Not just for me, for my clients too. And he's talking about the ads now. Spent $50, got 4 clients and made 9,400. Back-to-back calls 7 to 7. Let's ring some bells. 485 ad spend. So the good thing is here as well is he's making it super achievable. $50, I've got that. I have $485, I can achieve that. Yeah, great, I can pay $44, and then I'd love to have $15,000 from $485 of spend. And these people are able to achieve this. So that is going to build it up. And then he's talking about the call. So how do we convert people there? Again, he talks about this gap and the importance of using the gap in the call. I'm not going to go into detail there because I appreciate that we've hit an hour on this video now, or just about to. And now we're going to go into external belief 3, and then the domino should be ready to fall and wrap up this transformation phase. So let's get into external belief 3 really quickly. So now, let's talk about pricing your services, the secret to pricing your consulting services. Forget about what it costs you. Forget about how much time it takes you. So these are really nice reframes that people are going to have, and perspective shifts. Can I write PS here? Perspective shifts that people are going to have. And it's a refreshing new idea and a new way of positioning themselves in the market. Nobody cares about how much work you do or how much it costs you incur. They care about the problem. Don't believe me? Let's take a trip to the dentist to put this into perspective. When you choose your niche and problem that you solve correctly, you should be able to charge anywhere from $3,000 to $30,000 per client. If you can't charge at least $2,000, you're not solving a significant problem. So it's helping people reframe how they go about pricing, and pricing based on problems. So let's do some maths, because most people have no idea how easy it is to make $100,000 a year in consulting. And then he's going into what he promised at the start, the maths to making $100,000 a year in consulting. And he's talking about $2,000 a month, that's $6,000 to $8,000. Over the course of the year, $72,000 to $96,000 a year from just 3 to 4 new consulting clients. When you set up and run your consulting business the right way, it's effortless to attract at least 3 to 4 new clients and produce $100,000 a year. Then he's talking about the old way as well here. In a job, it takes qualifications, decades of work, experience, slave-like hours, even though most people never get close to 100,000. When you start a consulting business, it's a hygiene standard. So this is such a powerful line here, and I really like this one. There's the kind of the false dichotomy idea that a lot of sales presentations you'll watch, will have. It's the idea of like, there are only two options here. You go this route, slave-like hours, qualifications of work, qualifications, decades of work, or you can go this route, just get a few consulting clients every month. So it's the idea that there are only two options here. One of them's horrible, and one of them's like really, really, really pleasant. And it's kind of like that image of the two paths of like one going into. Let me just get that. Okay, so yeah, this is the one I was talking about. There are some weird ones on this, but this is the meme I was talking about. He's laying out this these two options here. One of them is horrible. So this is not software architect, but it's job. And then the other one is consulting, and it's really, really pleasant. And he's just saying like, look, there are just two paths here. So which one are you going to take? Now, and then we're going to get into the next part and this pitch. So each of the beliefs at this point, holding up a domino, have now been handled one by one. So it can now fall. Really? Me? Who for? What do I charge? How do I get clients? It's now fallen and people are ready to buy. So let's get into the pitch. So here we're going to introduce the offer. So the features 1 and 2 of the offer is what he does in this part. Then he goes into the feature 3 and feature 4. Then he's going to stack it and pitch it and go into social proof. So if you want to learn how to pitch, I think he does this really well. And he also does it in a non-kind of traditional, I guess, way of that has been popularized in webinars and online sales, that a lot of people will go the approach of. So if you want to go into it feeling a little bit more pleasant, then this is a really good part to learn from. At this point in the webinar, you basically have two options, really, really standard 2-option pitch sell. So let's get into it. Let's see it. Go at it alone, spend hundreds of thousands of dollars figuring this stuff out, wasting 3 to 5 years of your life. So we're talking about this without Sam Ovens. This is your life without Sam Ovens, right? Or you could learn the proven system from someone who has not just done it, but truly mastered it and is the best in the world at it, making it a no-brainer option. This is life working with Sam Ovens. Introducing Consulting Accelerator. What is Consulting Accelerator? How to start your own consulting business and get your first high-value client in 42 days. The question I'm asking here is actually, this is what the title of the webinar was, right? Now, if I remember correctly, get your first high-value client in 42 days. So, like, I thought this was the webinar. So I think I would, if I was to write this, I would reframe this not to exactly the title of the webinar, to be honest, because it might make people feel a little bit put out that, like, okay, I've just spent a whole hour of my time, or I think it was, how long was it? It was nearly 3 hours, this webinar, I think, just to be pitched something of how to do what was the webinar promised me. 6-week online training program that goes into everything in detail. I think this could be positioned better. This does read just like a feature, and you know the whole saying of that you need to sell benefits, not just features. But here we do have a feature benefit pairing. Recorded videos, worksheets and templates, and swipe files, so you can shortcut your success by years. You can log in and access the content anytime, from anywhere in the world. And this training is like nothing else you've seen before. And then he's going to talk about the 4 main components of this. So number 1 is the proven process. So all of the effort that he's talking about here is increasing the perceived value, and it's making the alternative unattractive, because they're like, oh gosh, I can learn from this person who's put all of this effort into it, or I'm going to have to put all this effort into it myself. So I've spent 6 years of my life figuring it out, 16 different iterations. I spent more than $10 million. Then he's building up social proof as well here. Tested on 10,000 people. Then he's going into the weeks, and he's going to break it down week by week as well, and actually going to show people what's inside each of these modules. So week 1, regardless of your background, skills, and education. So again, huge part of this, like a real big takeaway that you can take from this, is the importance of just continuing to handle objections. People are going to be worried about their background, skills, and education, so let's just get rid of that objection. How to select the right consulting business model for your niche or offer. This sounds like it's going to be something personalized. They're going to feel like, oh, and this is something as well in sales. people always think that they're way more unique than they are. But if you work with I'm guessing if you're watching this, you're probably doing some sort of consulting, coaching offer, and you'll probably notice yourself that like a lot of the conversations you have when you're helping your clients, they are very, very similar to one another. But people don't think that way. People think that their problems are unique, that their situation is unique. So by appealing to this desire for something personalized, is going to help people kind of be at ease. They're going to be like, oh, okay, I'm unique, so I can't just have a cookie cutter approach because that's not going to work for me. I'm different. I've got different problems. How to price your offer so it's at least 2,000 to 4,000 from day one. Common objection is, okay, do I need to just spend a lot of time just working up to being able to price well? How to take a view on the market and differentiate yourself from the competition. That is going to be like, okay, where else can I learn this? That is something that sounds very valuable, but I think you've also got to think like people might be thinking, okay, what else are my options here? And it's not just the kind of heaven or hell option that people have, but people will be considering, okay, like what can I actually think about? But something like this, how to take a view on the market and differentiate yourself from the competition, that's something very specific. It sounds very necessary in order to get success. And people will be asking themselves, well, I need to go here because where else can I learn that? How to craft a message that resonates deep in your niche's bones and provokes them to take action. Again, that is related to that. And again, get this handled in the first 7 days. Most people spend 3 to 10 years. Those people do that. You are making the right decision because you're going to be quick. Let's take a look inside. Then he's going into the examples, and then again, super relevant social proof here. I just watched the Niche 2.0 video. It was amazing. So you'll see every time I've got a tick here, we've got examples of very, very relevant social proof. Now, it's a new paradigm and worldview. All this powerful vocabulary that he's using here is going to make it seem like a no-brainer based on the training up until this point. So everything where he was saying, oh, you need to change who you are in order to get what you want, this is where he's really tapping into this. So how to face your dark side, escape negative behavior patterns and limit your success, how to escape the illusion of yourself, how to be the architect of your life. Really powerful framing here. Let's take a look inside. Now we've got examples, and then we're going into the social proof again. Week 3, alchemy of client conversion. So we've got points here around ease, removing pain, so 1 phone call and 0 follow-up. Showing the work that's gone into this. I've done over 1,500 consultations, how to handle objections, and how to collect payment via credit card over the phone. I provide you with a merchant, so a roadblock removed. People are worrying about, oh, how do I even do that? I've never done that in my life before. What tech do I need? I provide it for you. You get my actual script, high perceived value there. Call recordings as well, high perceived value. And then knowing how to sell is a life or death skill as a consultant. And we get you to the top of your game in just 21 days. So again, making things seem quick, achievable, easy, removing roadblocks. Let's take a look inside. Then we're going to go into the wall of social proof again before we get into week 4. Here, he's going into like the old way versus the new way, removing the risk. He's talking about the shared goal. I really like this. We want to get you your first few clients within the first 30 days. It makes you not feel alone because he's on board with what you want to achieve as well. Then he's talking about all of the ease, so you can just download and install stuff with 1 click, the funnels that he's talking about. Most people spend 6 months, and this is kind of how he's wrapping up every week, to be honest. Most people spend 6 months to 1 year before they get their first client. We help get you yours in the first 30 days. So the ugly alternative of not taking action right now. What's inside? Backed up by the relevant social proof before we get into the Facebook ads. So again, and this is something I mentioned earlier on as well, the plain statement here, it makes the success seem inevitable. And I think that's something super, super, super powerful. So at this point, you should already have a few clients using the organic free methods. So that's something that he's just saying, okay, it should have already happened by now. He's not putting the hype onto the first client. And by putting the hype onto by not doing that, he's just making the success seem inevitable. And he's saying like this can be as big as you want to take it, basically. Now we show you step by step, so it's helping people believe, okay, I'm not alone in this, because this is something people are going to be worried about. This is a waterproof Rolex cell, made over 10 million. He's scaled up to multiple millions in advertising spend. Then he's got some really cool points of curiosity here with things that he's called the Facebook's golden mean and the DNA. Lots of curiosity getting built by his own terminology that he's using. And then again, most people try and do this. We get you going in 5 weeks. Let's take a look inside. Then he's showing inside, then he's going into the social proof, and then we wrap things up with week 6, minimum viable service delivery. So this is really appealing, requires as little of you as possible. So how to do your work so you don't need to do much work. All of the legals. So this is adding to the fear here, and I think this is really strong. He's building into the fear of going alone, and he's making people aware of problems that they're going to face if they don't take action today, because he is going to handle all of the legals you need to run your consulting business. Consulting agreements, contracts, terms and conditions, privacy policy, save $5,000 in lawyer fees. This is something that people don't want to go through. Let's take a look inside, and then we've got all of the examples, the relevant results. And then let's talk about the format. Learn in a way that suits you. So then he talks about the fact that you get the transcript, you get the HD videos, you get the available online via desktop and mobile, you listen to the MP3. So there's lots of different ways to learn here. And he says, oh yeah, scroll down until you get to this section. So he's showing people exactly how to use the learning platform, and it's an education. So people can actually visualize themselves at this point, taking action and learning from him. They feel like they've got an insider's look into like the learning platform, and being shown stuff like that they shouldn't really be shown. Like he's entered a password to get into this, so they shouldn't actually see this. So they feel privileged to be able to see this, and they can visualize themselves being in the situation, getting the transcript, clicking on the MP3 if they want to do so. He's also handling the buy, learn best objections here with available online. Watch, I learn best with full HD videos, that's quite funny. Listen to MP3 recordings, read a transcript, work through the physical workbook. So everything for you here. Remember, people think that they're unique, people think that they're special. So we're going to handle that right there. And then let's talk about another huge component of this. So this is the third feature of this, and it's going to be all about the community, I believe. Yes. And I think this is really good, the way he structured this. It's a bit bigger on the next slide. Where is that slide? Okay. It's hard to change your life when you're always surrounded by the people you've always been with. Our students join a worldwide community of people on the same path, so that dreams aren't laughed at but achieved on a daily basis. I think the way this copy is really, really strong. I really like that. Dreams aren't laughed at. Big reason that people wouldn't want to go and take action is that they feel alone, and the people that they know would laugh at their dreams. But achieved. Dreams aren't laughed at but achieved. And that's like, well, you're in the right place now. People aren't laughing at your dreams, they're achieving dreams. And I really like how he's written that. So if we just rewind a little bit, why is this? Most people join a program, attempt to change their life business, but their current environment is not set up to assist that transformation. And this is something that Jack Hopkins, actually, in one of my previous videos, when I broke down his webinar, he was selling a similar thing in the idea of community. So it's interesting to see the differences in how they sell the same idea of community. Their friends, family, etc. all doubt them. They speak different languages and they inhabit different worlds. When you go against your environment, things are challenging beyond belief, and most people give up because it's just too hard. So you can see, like, it's really building up that fear of, yeah, I'm this person, I'm kind of like a caged bird at this point. I can't free myself because I'm in the wrong environment. I experienced this myself for years. I sat in this pain and it plagued my existence for years until I figured out what that problem was. It'd be good to have a little bit more background here to help the viewer understand the risk for them. Again, this is something I would say, like, I think this would just be my one criticism of this webinar, is that he talks about these personal experiences, but on a very, very surface level. But the way that you actually connect with people is when you go a bit deeper. So that's what I'd just be looking at doing to make adjustments. you'd be in a community, you're going to be in the situation, going to showing it makes it real. And then you're going to wrap up this part with a bit of FOMO, really. Showing that this is not theoretical. So people are actually saying, like, look, this is actually helping people. Like, people are setting up times to go over the sales calls. And then building FOMO by showing the real situations. And then still building curiosity. Now, there's one final thing that's absolutely mandatory when creating change in your life. And then we're about to get into the last feature, and then the pitch, or the stack and close. So the expert mentorship. He's talking about the fact that he's got the coaches in there as part of his coaching program. We've got the regular calls, and then again, I really like how he shows like logging into the system and how to access what you need. So it's like a tutorial at this point, like how to get help. Then you go here, then you do this, then you get a Q&A call, then you see when it's going to come up. And then there's all of this. So I think this is really good. Then he's stacking the value at this point. So the HiveMind search tool for all content, Facebook group with expert coaches, 2 calls every week, and the recordings. The customer support team available by email. So he's stacking up all of the value as well, showing people are not alone, relevant social proof, examples of the people that he works with. And then he's got them all together. This is not your typical course. It's a byproduct of 6 years of work. Absolute mastery in the field, 16 different iterations, 10 plus million in personal investment, and it's like nothing else that exists today. The effort sacrificed here is something that will increase the perceived value by a lot. Let's put it into perspective and do the math. The disturbing cost of going at it alone. To figure out all of this information and get your consulting business set up could take 3 to 10 years of your life, and you might not figure it out at all. There's lots of risk, building up the fear, building up the risk. You'd have to try thousands of things on your own. There's a basic human need to be in community. And saying things like, on your own, you are alone in this, is scary because it taps into that human need for belonging and being part of something. It takes decades, years, 6, personal experience, and adding to the cost of inaction. Again, life may pass without it done. So there's huge amounts of fear, pain, negative feeling around this. I've put my heart and soul into this. It shows he cares. And then there's, again, just more cost of inaction. Millions of dollars, decades at a time. Might not be possible for you at all. So are we ready to get into the stack and close? I believe we are. Let's summarize everything you get. What I'm saying here is that this slide could have been created sooner and added to over time, like this one, to build familiarity with it. So I think he could have taken this slide and said, okay, like here's what you get, dum, dum, dum. And then basically we're building this slide over time. So we'd say first you get from the perfectly engineered change agent, you get proven process. And then he's going to go through all of that. And then you get a new paradigm, and then he's going to go through all that. So you can see that on this slide, it will just be this, first of all, and then it will be this, and then it will be this, and then it will be this. And it's going to start to build that familiarity with that single slide, and then it's going to, you can kind of see the value just growing over time, if you see what I mean. But then he positions it at that $6,000, and then, yeah, social proof. This is a steal at $6,000, but I want to send the elevator back down. So this positions him as the good for any Sam Ovens that we know. That he's just here to help people. I'm being really nice. I'm being generous. I'm doing a special offer for people on the webinar today. Truly ridiculous price at $1,999. I just said here, a way to make this more powerful is by adding a limit, and then taking it away. So he says, okay, you get true lifetime access to everything. What I mean by this is if he said here, like it's a 6-week program, but you get access for 12 weeks. But then people will be like, oh, but what if I want it for longer than that? And then he'll say, and instead of just having 12-week access, you're going to get true lifetime access to everything. And then that's how he could take it. That's what I mean there by essentially adding a limit before and then taking it away. Something like true lifetime access, really good way to do that. And I'm willing to stand behind this 100%. Then he goes into his absolute satisfaction guarantee. The price is obviously very well positioned here because he's talking about getting a high value client worth at least $2,000. The program's $2,000. Strong social proof. And then he's got the risk reversal of 14 days. So then basically all you need to do is click the button that comes up when you're on the webinar, and you're ready to take action. And then he just goes into a mountain of social proof. Then he goes just in, like basically directly into his portal with the 3,000 customer reviews, and then goes through. I think he actually clicks on a couple of the videos. So yeah, that's it. It's been obviously a long video. I hope you've got some value from this. I think this is one of the best webinars to break down and to learn from as well. So I hope it's been valuable for you. I've enjoyed breaking it down. And if you want to see more like this, then stick around. I've got a couple of other videos for you to take a look at. And I'll also be posting more in the future. So thanks a lot for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.